Assalamualaikum.
Pamel.
Miss Rahayu, apa kabar?
Salam, Miss Eni. Alhamdulillah sehat. Apa
Amin,
kabar, Miss? Miss
amin.
Eni.
Alhamdulillah baik.
Thank you for joining the webinar.
Halo Mr. Ridwan. You
Yep.
can start now.
Oke. Oke. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Izinkan saya membuka acara ini dengan menggunakan bahasa ya. Oke, baik. Ibu dan Bapak, apakah suara saya jelas?
Jelas, Pak.
Oke. Sebelumnya saya perkenalkan dulu, nama saya Ridwan Armansyah, saya salah satu guru matematika di Kota Bogor. Oke, alhamdulillah pada malam hari ini kita bisa bertemu lagi di dunia maya yang mana TOT ini diselenggarakan webinar ini ya diselenggarakan setiap hari Rabu setiap minggunya, dan kegiatan ini rutin dilaksanakan. Dan pada malam hari ini tanggal 27 September 2023 yang mana kegiatan ini diselenggarakan oleh TOT Jabar yang bekerja sama dengan IGI Kota Bogor dan didukung juga oleh Universitas Telkom dan PTIC, yaitu Perkumpulan Teacherpreneur Indonesia Cerdas. Oke, Bapak Ibu dan rekan-rekan semua, kegiatan ini juga ada live streamingnya di YouTube, yang mana nanti rekaman dari YouTube itu bisa kita putar kembali untuk lebih memperdalam dan memahami lagi apa materi yang telah disampaikan pada malam hari ini. Kemudian kegiatan ini juga diselenggarakan secara gratis dan sertifikat juga akan diberikan. Dan sertifikat berisi tentang data yang diisikan oleh Bapak Ibu dari presensi yang akan nanti diberikan ketika pada sesi tanya jawab di kegiatan webinar ini. Untuk mengawali kegiatan ini agar ilmu kita berkah dan kegiatan ini dilancarkan, dimudahkan, kemudian bisa berlangsung terus, sehingga semakin menambah wawasan kita. Marilah kita berdoa terlebih dahulu. Baik, menurut agama dan kepercayaan masing-masing, berdoa dipersilahkan. Berdoa selesai. Oke, School Leadership That Works. Materi ini nanti akan dibawakan oleh Mr. Willy Chandra. Terkait profil lengkapnya nanti mungkin akan bisa diuraikan oleh pemandu acara. Oke, tanpa berlama-lama kita akan mulai webinar ini yang akan dipandu oleh Miss Rahayu Sulistiani dari IGI Kota Bogor. Oke, silakan Miss Rahayu.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ridwan. I will take over the session. Good evening, Miss and Mr. Greetings from Jeonju, South Korea. Okay, I also want to say welcome to Miss Ari Widi Kristiani as founder TOT Jabar, and then to TOT Jabar committees, Mr. Josephs from Stekom University, and also Miss Amel as chairperson IGI Kota Bogor. My name is Rahayu Sulistiani from IGI Kota Bogor, and also an elementary teacher of Bina Insani School, your moderator for tonight. Okay, Miss and Mr., as we know that in today's educational field, the role of school leader is crucial. Effective school leadership is the cornerstone of creating nurturing learning environments, driving academic excellence, and ensuring the success of both students and also educators. And for tonight, Mr. Willy will share his experience about the school leadership that works. But before that, please allow me to inform you the short CV of Mr. Willy Chandra. Okay, so the CV of Mr. Willy Chandra from 2006 to 2010 at St. Peter's School as teacher and also art teachers coordinator. And then from 2010 to 2011 at UPH College as art teacher. And then from 2011 until 2019 at Pelita 2 School as secondary school principal. And then from 2023 until present at Sekolah Kristen Kanan and Kanan Global School as academic director. And for the academic or education background, Master of Education in Technology of Education at UPH 2008 until 2010, and candidate of Doctor in Management of Education UPH 2021 until present. Okay, so that is the short CV or brief CV or from Mr. Willy Chandra. Okay, and I will ask Mr. Willy Chandra to present the interesting topic for today. Hello, Mr. Willy Chandra.
Hi,
Okay.
hello, Miss Ayu.
Yeah, okay, so I will give the session to you. Okay, time is yours, Mr. Willy. Please.
Thank you very much for the wonderful opportunity. First and foremost, allow me to have a wonderful greetings to all of you participants. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Especially for TOT Jabar and Perkumpulan Entrepreneur Indonesia Cerdas, University Stekom, and the Ikatan Guru Indonesia Kota Bogor. It is truly a wonderful opportunity that I have in this current evening, and to be able, to sit here before you today to share about this wonderful, rich learning experience about leadership in these school settings. So that's about the topics. Thank you, Ms. Ayu, for the wonderful opening that you have delivered. And also, I would like to have a wonderful, pleasant greetings to Ms. Ari Widi Kristiani as the founder of the TOT Jabar, Mr. Joseph as director from the Stekom University, Pak Ridwan, Ms. Amel, because Ms. Amel is the one who contacted me earlier. So again, it is truly a wonderful and pleasant opportunity, truly. That's comes from you all. Since we only have 21 participants right now, so allow me to have a wonderful greetings again, one by one, if I may. Yeah. Hi, hello, Pak Anton, and there's Pak Bindu, Ibu Dewi Yanti, Ibu Emma, and then Ibu Eni, Ibu Rida, Ida, sorry. And then Mr. John, Victor, and Pak Juanita or Ibu Juanita? Ibu Juanita, I believe. Yeah, and then Ibu Listia, Pak Agung, Ibu Ninik, Ibu Yuri. Yeah, I think that's all. I have mentioned all of you. If I have skipped, my apologies then. Okay, everyone. So speaking about the education leadership, first and foremost, again, before I start, hi, Pak, we're looking forward to learning from you all. Thank you very much. So, may I have your background, everyone, all the participants in this wonderful evening session? Would you please to write down through the chat box, what is your daily profession? Are you a teacher? Are you part of the lecturer from the University of Stekom? Or are you the entrepreneur of the education setting? Would you mind to write it down through the chat box so that I know? I would like to know how many of you are teachers, how many of you are a lecturer. Okay, teachers, thank you, Miss Pak. Elementary teacher, lecturer, interpreter, oh, wow, wonderful. Teacher, okay. May I have again some more so that I know how should I deliver this well? Teacher, okay. Director of Academic Affairs. Oh, wow. Great, Pak Anton. Teacher, okay. Entrepreneur, okay, Pak Bindu. Wonderful. Okay, some more? Okay, meanwhile, we are waiting to receive this through the chat box. Perhaps later in the midst of the session, you could share more about your, experience, about your insight of what I'm going to deliver in the next few minutes, so that again we will have a rich discussion instead of just having one-way communication from me to you all. Okay, so some more. Teacher, entrepreneur, okay, teacher. So mostly tonight's participants are teachers. That's what I could say. Okay. Well, in the principle, what I have prepared through all my slides it is more into the leaders in the education settings. So yeah, take this as the insight so that perhaps you could share more into your school principal, or who knows that one day you'll be the leader at your education institution. Okay, so allow me to share my screen, everyone. Let me get my screen. Okay, as what you could see, actually there are 170 slides. And I'm not going to present all of those slides, okay? So let's see until which slides that we are going to stop later on. So allow me to put it in the full screen, everyone. Okay. Nice. Okay, I believe that you could see my screen already, everyone. Okay, so I name today's session as the School Leadership That Works. Well, indeed, that my presentation is more into the school leaders. But then again, speaking about the leaders, it is not those person who sit in the school management area as the school principal or as the members of school management, as the members of the school foundation. But then again, if we are speaking about leaders, it means whoever stand in front of the class to deliver the lesson to all of the students. By having said that, that person is the leader already. Okay, so allow me to emphasize it one more time. Speaking about the school leadership, speaking about the school leaders, it is not only meant for the school principal, the school management, the members of the school foundation, but then it is also for the teachers, because teachers is always at the front line, as the key person who could ensure and ensure the success of the school itself. So teachers have to be able to become a good role model for the students as the leader. Because basically that's what we are preparing for the students. We would like our students to become the next leaders in their own generation. Am I correct? So that is why I put a title as the school leadership that works. Again, it is for everyone, not for the school principal, but then for the teachers as well. I believe I don't have to introduce myself anymore because Miss Ayu has introduced me in the beginning. So you may call me by Willie. It's just simpler and easy to remember, I believe. Okay. So I would like to start today's session with the average hourly wages of the workers according to the education level. This data is taken from the Badan Pusat Statistik. Well, you could basically Google it and you could easily find what I have presented on the slide, everyone. So as what we could see right now, for those people who graduated, you know, from SD, SMP, and then SMA, and so on, up until the university, you could see there is a increment from each salary that they receive per hour. That's what we could see. And this, I believe this is the latest data, and it's valid because again, it comes from the Badan Pusat Statistik. From this point onward, we could summarize at least the education does affect their income in the future. I believe that we all have the same agreement. Am I correct? And if I compare with last 2 decades in the year of 2002, so those graduates, this one comes from the US Census Bureau in the year of 2002. Okay, I'm sorry. So those high school graduates will make around $19,900 and so on up until the doctorate degree graduates. So what we could see at here, everyone, the education plays an important role for them, for all of our students, in order to make a good money in the future, in order to make a good income in the future. By having said this, education is important for our students. It doesn't matter they are going to become a worker for one organization or entrepreneur. This data does to all of the workers. So what I could summarize from our first 2 slides are, firstly, the education plays an important role for our future working environment of our students. And secondly, again, us as the educators, us as the teachers, us as the leaders at the school, we are the key person in order to bring them for their success in the future. So this at least what we could summarize from our first two slides. So speaking about the school leadership, in the past 30 years, everyone, leadership is always becomes a complex area, you know, to be studied, because it has so many factors, everyone. As what we all have known, that the success of the students, it doesn't only comes from the school itself, comes from the family, comes from the environment. So there are so many factors, and it does a complexity, a very high level of complexity in the area of research. But then again, at one side, it is strongly believes that it, school leadership will affect, the school environment, the school settings in order to deliver the education. So again, from this point, we could see that the school leaders, again, school leaders is not only about the school principal. Okay, school leaders, if we are talking about school leaders, involves teachers, management, the school foundation, all the stakeholders that we all have known. And, we have such an important role. So that is why I put at what we could see on the slide at the first arrow, that school leaders become the key person, everyone. So from this point onward, it brings us that the leadership style, it will affect the quality of the teaching and learning. The leadership style that comes from the teachers, that comes from the school principal, it will affect the quality of the teaching and the learning. The point is, right now, the major issues is we are all living in the midst of the turbulence. We have such a huge different working culture and working climate if we compare in the past few years. That's the big challenge that we are facing currently. So again, in order to face that, in order to face all those challenges, the collaborative between the staffs, the teachers, the principals, that plays a huge role, everyone. And it will affect, again, to the students' achievement. And at the end, this is what we are all looking forward. We would like to have our school as a sustainable school. Okay, so again, from this point, from this slide, I could emphasize again that leadership in the school setting, it does plays an important role, everyone. Okay, so allow me to keep moving forward. What I'm presenting currently, everyone, is basically comes from this classic book. I'm strongly recommend all of you to have this School Leadership That Works book that comes from Marzano, Waters, McNulty. You could basically easily to download this book. Actually, you could easily Google it, School Leadership That Works, and it comes with around 200 pages. It has the PDF version as well. And what I'm going to emphasize through my short presentation in this evening, it comes from the chapter 4 that speaks about the responsibilities of the school leader. Again and again, I would like to emphasize, school leader is not always about the school principal. Also, school leader is about the teacher, because we lead our class, we lead our students in order to have the good and conducive learning at school. Okay, so this presentation comes from this book, everyone. Please feel free, you may Google it and you may download it, and I'm strongly recommend you to have and to read this book. Okay, I would like to open again my short presentation, everyone, with at least 2 questions currently, with at least 2 questions. To what extent does leadership play Okay, in order to have an effective school, to what extent does leadership play its role to have an effective school? That's the first question. Okay, to what extent? In bahasa we call it sejauh mana. Sejauh mana kepemimpinan mempengaruhi sekolah untuk bisa menjadi sekolah yang efektif, to deliver an effective learning, teaching and learning activities. To what extent? This is what we are going to discuss in this evening. And number two, how much of the school's impact on students, school's leadership, how much the impact that will bring to the students' achievement. So basically, these are the two big questions that we are going to discuss, everyone. Okay, because some point of view are emphasizing that the teacher is the key to bring an effective teaching and learning session in the class. They try to eliminate the role of the school principal, the role of the school foundation, the role of all the stakeholders, and they only emphasize on the teacher. But then again, through this session, I would like to emphasize more. The success of one school actually comes from the leadership. And again, speaking about the leadership, it means the whole stakeholders. As what we could see at here, there's a one small table, everyone, figure 1.1. If you have downloaded the book, you could find this table actually. And it says at here that effective and ineffective school, which is we code it as the A and B school. And as what you could see on the screen, if you try to calculate the 72 and the 21, or the other way around, the 21 and 72, it does has the meaning, everyone. So let's see what's the meaning from this small figure. Okay. So actually that comes from a research, everyone. So this research was conducted by the authors of the book. And through the 2,802 schools, approximately around 1.4 million students, involving also another 14,000 teachers. And they try to, they have successfully done the research, and they found there's a 0.25 discrepancy between the effective and the ineffective school settings. Okay, perhaps it's a bit confusing. Let me move on to the next slide. Okay, as what you could see right now, everyone. So let's say that all of these students have a 50% rate of the success in their study. Okay, and then the 0.25%, if we plus 25, so it means we have 84. It means there's a 34% approximately increase from the 50. Now, the 0.25 actually comes from the seminars on the leadership. So that's what the results shows us. So that's what the results of the research shows to us, that there is a 25% increment if they put more attention on the leadership. So that's what the figure 1.2 explains to us. I'm not sure whether it's understandable, but then again, feel free if you would like to discuss about this figure, please write down on the chat box, and then we could discuss more afterwards. Okay, the point is from these slides that I would like to emphasize is there's always an increment, 25%, if the school management put their focus on the leadership. The leadership of the school principal, the leadership style of the teachers, the school management, the school foundation. There's another 25% increment of the students' achievement, everyone. So that's how we understand this figure 1.2 and figure 1.3. Okay, so such as the example is they send the teachers, they send the school principal to join the seminars, or they join the powerful leadership training, and it does amazingly results to the students' achievement. 25% approximately increment of the students' achievement. Okay, so for me, it's quite shocking, because again, if we put more attention on the school leadership, it will bring another at least 25% higher achievement from the students. So this is how we understand the figure, everyone. Okay, let me move on to the next slide. I think, let me just skip this one. Okay. Again, speaking about leadership, it's inevitable to speak about the leadership style, everyone. So there's a transactional leadership, as what we could see on the slide. I'm not going to go deeper one by one about this transactional, but then again, if we are speaking about the transactional, at least we are speaking about the passive, about the active, about the constructive, as what you could see on the screen. Well, basically, I've shared this slides to Miss Amel, and then you could see it later afterwards, and you could dig more about this leadership style. The common leadership style that applies at school is the transactional leadership, everyone. This is the common leadership style. So it means there's a trade between the leader and the subordinate. Like what I've mentioned earlier, I'm not going to discuss detail about this. This is only for the exposure only. Passive means, yeah, you know, the teachers, the school principals, they are just waiting of what things that is going to be happen, and then they find a solution. Active means they pay attention about what are the issues that might arise. Then they already have a plan to solve it, and so on. Okay, so basically you could easily Google about the transactional leadership. What I would like to emphasize through this slide is this is a common leadership style that usually apply at the school settings. And then there's a transformational leadership as well. I believe that you have heard about this name, transformational, and it's quite famous nowadays, I believe. And then again, speaking about this transformational leadership, actually it comes from the year of 78, so it's quite a long time ago already, but then it's still happening nowadays. And speaking about school setting, this is one of the famous leadership style as well that comes from the school principal or the teachers to the students. Because again, if you're speaking about transformational leadership, we are speaking about how to pay more attention on the individual itself, just like the teacher pay more attention on each of your individual student, and then how you stimulate the intellectual, how do you give the motivational to the students, how do you influence, because again, this is more about the transformational leadership. Again, I'm not going to discuss deeper about the transformational leadership, because our topic in this evening is about the leadership in the school setting. So I think I have to at least give you a glimpse about the leadership style. So there's a transactional, there's a transformational leadership, and like what I've emphasized earlier, the leadership style, it brings a good impact for the students' achievement. It does a huge influence to the school achievement, which is the 25%, like what I've presented earlier today, figure 1.1 and 1.2. Okay, so this is about the second leadership style. And then there's another leadership styles, everyone. There's another theories about the leadership. There's a servant leadership, there's a authentic leadership, there's situational leadership, adaptive, team leadership, and so on and so on. Well, basically, you could easily Google about those leadership style. And what I would like to emphasize through all these various of leadership style, there is none one leadership style that could works for all situations, everyone. So that is why I put all those leadership styles on this screen so that it gives you an idea that, again, none of leadership style could be applied for all situations, for all issues, for all challenges. So as a teacher, as the school leaders, as the school principals, as the school management, as the school foundation, school stakeholders, we have to know about all those leadership styles, everyone, because again, it does an important roles to bring the achievement to our students. Okay, speaking about achievements, like what I presented earlier, we are speaking about the 25% increment. Okay, so it's very important for me. Speaking about the leadership. And then I put a little bit comparison between the instructional leadership and there's another one, which is instructional leadership. In the first leadership style, it was transactional just now, and then we have instructional leadership. And then I put it side by side with transformational leadership because there are so many fans out there, teachers, school leaders who admire, who loves about the transformational leadership. So I try to compare them side by side as what you could see. Again, speaking about transformational leadership on the white area, it means we are emphasizing about the motivation, we are emphasizing about the individualized, we are emphasizing about the influence, about how you stimulate the intellectual of the students. But if you are speaking about the instructional leadership is just more into the teacher, actually. So as a teacher, it is important for you to set what are the goals for your students. And I believe this is the major thing that you have to deliver before you start your class. What are your goals so that you have common goals with your students? And then how do you deliver the curriculum? If you are the vice principal, how you supervise the delivery of the curriculum? And then how you ensure that your school has a positive learning environment. So this is a bit comparison. Yeah, again, I'm not going to go deeper about these leadership styles. My point of showing all of you about this leadership style is that for you to be aware that, again, leadership styles, there's non-leadership style that could be succeed for all of the situations, for all of the challenges, everyone. Okay. Instructional leadership means from top down, from teachers to the students. But then transformational leadership usually comes from the teachers. Your initiatives will be such a great development of opportunity for the school. Okay. So how does we apply it, everyone? So I jump into the section B. So section 1 is more into the leadership. More into how important is the leadership to the successful of the students' performance. That's all about the section A. But then section B, I'll be going deeper about how do we do it, how the practical applications, everyone. Okay, so there are 21 responsibilities, everyone. So again, in this section, we are not going to discuss again about the leadership style, everyone. So let's put aside all those leadership style, but then we focus about the responsibilities. So it means we go beyond, because again, styles is more into the approach. How do you approach your subordinates? How do you approach your students? But then again, if you're speaking about responsibilities, it means we go beyond of the approach. We go beyond of the framework, everyone. So there are 21 responsibilities that all of the leaders at school settings, teachers, school principals, all those stakeholders should know, everyone. There are 21 responsibilities that place a huge influence in order to make a good and wonderful school leadership. Okay, so let's go one by one, everyone. So these are the points that I'm going to go deeper one by one. Okay, so I'm going to present from number 1, responsibility, up until number 21, responsibilities. I'm going to present about the definition, about the specific behaviors that comes from the leaders themselves, and the example. It means the example, how do we implement this responsibility on our daily activity. Okay, the first one, everyone, responsibility number 1. Since it's number 1 and we will be going up until number 21, I hope that you don't fall asleep because it's quite a lot of responsibilities. Okay, so responsibility number 1, everyone, is about the affirmation. Okay, so I have highlighted the keywords at here. So if you're speaking about the affirmation, it means we are speaking about the how do you recognize, how you as a teacher recognize your students' achievement, your students' accomplishments, or at the other side, your students' failures. So this is the first responsibility, everyone. So what are the specific behaviors that you have to show to your students, to your subordinates? The very first and foremost is systematically, you know how to recognize the accomplishment of your students, of your teachers, and all of the stakeholders. So why I put this as the first responsibility, because it's important for us to know actually what we have accomplished and what we have failed so far. Okay, so this is the first responsibility. Let's go on for the example. How do we implement it, everyone? Okay, so let's see. In one occasion, the school principal might invite all of the teachers, the students in one big auditorium, and then the school principal might announce to the faculty members about the goals, about things that they have done so far. So this is the example. For the teacher, it's easy for you to, announce what you have accomplished together with all of your students, and it will motivate your students. It will bring more deeper interaction between you and your students, everyone. Okay, so this is the first example about the, again, affirmation. Now let's move on to the next one, which is responsibility number 2, is about the change agent. So this is the responsibility of number 2 about the school leadership. So speaking about the change agent, so it means we are speaking about the agent itself, agent themselves. Are they willing to challenge the status quo, or at the opposite side? The specific behaviors, as what you will see on the slides, the thing that I would like to highlight on this screen is how you systematically recognize or challenge yourself, challenge your students, challenge your subordinates, try to do things with a newer ways or even with better ways. So this is speaking about the responsibility of number 2. And let's see the example, everyone. Look, my slides start changing. Okay. All right, it's changing already. So speaking about the change agent, I think it is very important, everyone, especially you as the teacher. You have to brave enough to challenge, is the school policy works or the other way around. Usually what used to be happen, if one of the teacher during the teachers meeting challenge the school principal, challenge the regulation that has applied, usually the school principal will have another point of view about that teacher, or this teacher, why so what do you call, I couldn't find the word, why this teacher is so would like to break through all the policy that is stated already. So again, if we are speaking about the successful school leadership, because again, school leadership will bring another 25% increment of the student's achievement. So you have to brave enough to challenge the status quo. For example, is our homework of policy of the students learning is helping the students, or the other way around? So this is the example, everyone. So let me go on to number 3, contingent rewards. This is responsibility number 3, everyone. Okay, so this responsibility is emphasizing on the how do you give the rewards to the accomplishment of your students, to the accomplishment of your teachers, if you are the vice principal or if you are the school principal. How you use the data from their performance, okay, to set a valid rewards that they should receive. Okay, so this is the example. So a school principal or a teacher could easily praises the students, the teachers who have done best so far about their performance. Okay, let me go on quickly on the responsibility of number 4, communication. Again, this is yeah, I think we all have agreed that communication is very important to bring the good interaction between teachers and principal, teachers and students. Okay, and the thing that I would like to highlight from this 4th responsibility is about the accessible. It's about open, about how effective you communicate with each other. Okay, so the example is about the how you can discuss about the concerns that happen with your students, with your teachers. So this is the example, everyone. Okay, let me move on quickly to number 5, about the culture. Culture is very important, everyone, because again, it won't be conducive for the teachers to do a great performance if the school culture is not supporting it. I think we have agreed about that, everyone. So again, the 5th responsibility is about the culture. So if you are the teacher, so make sure that your students, the well-being of your students are there. Okay, you have the same vision with your students. So these are the things, the behaviors, the characteristics that might brings a good culture in your class, in your school. So let's see how the example, everyone. The teachers might take some time to the faculty during the meetings to to emphasize about things that is already the culture, especially that's already good so far, good implemented so far. Okay, I'm not sure whether should I explain it one by one, but I'm just going to display it quickly and briefly. Responsibility number 6 is about the discipline. This discipline is a bit different, everyone. It's not about the like a military disciplinary. It's totally far away from that kind of discipline, everyone. Discipline in this case, if you are a teacher, it means that you will 100% protect your students from external issues, from external influences that might distract their focus in the class. So this discipline is more into the protection that you are giving to your students. If you are the school principal, the protection that you are giving to your teachers. You try to put aside all the distractions that might detract them from their performance. So this is the 6th responsibility. So let's see the example. It has to be consistent. How the school principal or a teacher will not interact or give any announcements during the instructional time. So this is the example. It's small example, but then again, it does a huge impact for the students. Number 7 is about flexibility, everyone. Flexibility means, flexible to adapt, especially during this technology turbulence that, brings changing learning environment. So easy to adapt. And as what you could see from the screen, what are the specific behaviors, okay? So your needs of the specific situations and so on. The point is you have to be comfortable of making the changes itself, everyone, okay? The example would be the, as the principal, as the teacher, you know when to pause, you know when to stop, okay? And then the responsibility number 8 is focus, okay? Again, I'm not going to discuss in detail because I believe that you could, have a take a look for a while. Focus, and what are the example? The example is, set a goal. Again, set a goal as a school leader, as the principals, as teachers, as the school leaders, also to the faculty, the members of the faculty. Again, setting the goals. Okay, because focus to the goals,
Okay.
again, is important. Yes, again,
Mr.
Ayu?
Willy, sorry for
Please.
interrupting,
Please.
but there is a question in the
I
chat
see.
box. Can we
Please.
Yes, okay. Before to
Okay.
the question, let's greet to the rector of STECOM, Dr. Joseph M. Com. Welcome. Thank you for joining the webinar. Today's session with Mr. Willy with the topic about school leadership that works. Welcome, Mr. Joseph. Is it? Okay, Mr. Joseph. Okay, thank you for joining the webinar. And also there is a question from Miss Amel, Mr. Willy. The question is flexible same with wise? What do you think?
Is the flexibility same with the wise?
Yes.
Okay. Wise. Wise, is it wisdom? Are we speaking about the wisdom?
How
Miss
about
Amel.
Miss Amel?
Is this Miss Amel is the Siti Amelia?
Yes.
Or
Siti
there's another Miss
Amelia.
Amel? Okay, it's echoing. Let me move on to the second responsibility, which is the flexibility number 7. Okay, allow me to answer it. Is it the same with wise? If you're speaking about wise, I mean we're speaking about wisdom. Wisdom is something that comes from your conscience, isn't it? From your conscience, conscience in bahasa we call it as the suara hati, wisdom. I'm not quite sure whether it's the same or not with wisdom, but this flexibility is more into one set of behavior that allows you to have a various changes in the short period of time. By having said that, I believe that wisdom will be part of the framework. So to answer that, is it the same? It's not the same, but wisdom is part of the framework of thinking in order to be flexible. Because again, we are living in the uncertainty development of the technology, of the politics, because again, next year will be the another election of the presidents. So perhaps, I don't know, the curriculum Merdeka will be changing with another curriculum, or another regulations will be stated by the government because there'll be a new minister, could be. So this flexibility is there. This responsibility will lead the teachers, the principals, to be comfortable with the major changes, everyone. And I believe the teachers, they are having a big issues about this curriculum changing, especially for the TK, SD, SMP, and SMA, and so on. So again, flexibility is the key, everyone. But again, to answer that, it's not the same. But I believe wisdom is part of the framework of thinking. I think that's my answer. So if I put everything in one slide, everyone, those 21 responsibility is here. From the flexibility, like what we just discussed, I'm not sure whether you could read it. I hope that you could read everything because it's quite small over here because it's 21. From the situational awareness up until the relationships. Okay. And then allow me to continue just a few more. These responsibilities will lead to the changes, everyone. And then if you're speaking about the changes, there's a first order of change and there's a second order of change. Okay. First order means the changing that is gradual and subtle. The second order change means the drastically changes that the principal or the teachers will bring to the institution, everyone. Okay. So back to you, Miss Ayu. I hope that I could answer the questions well.
Okay, thank you for the explanation, Mr. Willy. Okay, and next we also have questions here from Mr. Anton Permadi from Yayasan LPIA.
I see.
Okay, in one of your slides, you mentioned that the outcomes of instructional leadership are improvements to teachers' work conditions, school culture, student achievement. Talking about the common state schools with Merdeka curriculum, how are you going to define those 3 points referring to the state schools where everything is fixed by the Ministry of Education, especially the minister himself, who is not an educator but a businessman? What do you think, Mr.?
Wow, that's a tough question.
Questions.
Miss Ayu, would you mind to repeat it again because I'm not quite clear to get the whole questions.
Whole questions. Okay, so in your slides, that outcomes of instructional leadership are: first, improvements to teachers' work conditions; second, school culture; and third, student achievement. So, talking about the common state school with Merdeka curriculum, how are you going to define those 3 points referring to the state schools where everything is fixed by the Ministry of Education, especially the minister himself, who is not educator but a businessman? Do you get it?
Okay. So okay, again, it's a tough one. Thank you very much, sir. Okay, so speaking about the instructional leadership, everyone, as what we could see it here, the focus is the academic progress. So just like what I've delivered earlier, if transformation, it is more into the the bigger area about the school culture, school vision, but then again, instructional, it is more into the teachers because the focus again is more into the academic progress of the students. The key goals here, of course, like what we could see on the slide, and then we will have the outcomes, which is like what Ms. Ayu just mentioned just now. The outcomes shall improve the conditions, the environment, the culture, and affects to the achievement. And it comes from the top down usually, and example of the implementation is rewarding to the the achievement itself to the students. Okay. Now the thing is, how do we interact with the curriculum Merdeka? First thing, let me think first. Yeah, it is truly a tough questions. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, now the curriculum Merdeka itself, it does brings a huge change, I believe.
Yes.
It brings
Reformation.
quite different approach, because if we compare with the curriculum 13, we are speaking about the KD, about the kompetensi dasar. But then if we go with the curriculum Merdeka, we are speaking about the TP. And then syllabus it changed to ATP, alur tujuan pembelajaran. And then there is no more KI1, KI2, KI3, KI4. It's all disappeared. Even some teachers, they are still confused why the report card of the curriculum Merdeka is not stated anything about the KI1, KI2, even KI3, KI4, the social and spiritual for the KI1 and KI2. So it means we are speaking about the different environment, everyone. We are speaking about different conditions already. Now, through the instructional leadership, when we set the goals, okay, when we supervise the delivery of the curriculum, just like what you could see on the slide at the blue side, at the left side, it's supposedly brings a good conditions where the teachers again could adapt to the changes. Because again, indeed, we can't argue anymore with the government, especially with the education ministry, the minister himself, because again, he's, yeah, indeed, just like what you said, is coming from the business section. But the regulations, as the citizens, what we can do is just, follow the regulations. And at the school setting, what we could do best is to adjust with the changes. To adjust with the changes, it means we have to try to get along with the changes itself by bringing a supportive conditions, school culture, in order to face the challenges. Now, that is why it comes the 21 responsibility. And just like what Ms. Amel has asked earlier, there's number 7, which is the flexibility, and it plays a huge major role to set the framework of the teacher, to have the flexibility framework in order to bring, let me put my screen, in order to bring the second order change. It means we are not talking anymore about the first order change, because first order is about the daily operational changes. But then again, this curriculum Merdeka, it brings like a dramatic, huge changes to the school. And speaking about the second order of change, it means there's a sleight of mind. Try to pay attention on the right side, leadership for SOC. SOC means the second order of change. Those are the 7 responsibilities that you need actually. You have to have a good knowledge, and you have to optimize your teacher's capability by doing the intellectual stimulations so that they could become a change agent in order to bring these changes of the curriculum Merdeka. You monitor, you evaluate, flexibility, just like what I've mentioned earlier. You need this flexibility framework of thinking in order to face the challenges. Then you have the common ideas and the common beliefs that these changes will bring your school as a success school, so that you could have a sustainable school. I think that's my best answer for now, Miss Ayu.
Okay, thank
So
you.
yeah,
Mr.
it does
Willy.
relate with the instructional leadership, and again, it does relate with this responsibility again.
Thank you, Mr. Willy. And for the next, we have Miss Nadia, who already raised hand. Please,
please.
Miss Nadia, you can deliver your question directly to Mr. Willy.
Hello, good evening, Mr. Willy.
Hi,
I'm sorry.
Pak Nadia.
Hi, sorry. I use my daughter
Oh, I'm sorry.
account. Yeah,
Say hi
it
to
is
your daughter,
me.
Pak.
Yeah, my daughter name is Nadia. I'm
Oh,
France.
so-
I'm Eddie. Actually, I am a friend of Miss Ayu.
oh, no. Oh, Mr. Eddie. Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, hi, hello,
Hello,
Pak
Mr.
Eddie.
Eddie.
Hello.
Okay,
Okay.
please, Mr. Eddie.
So it is a very interesting discussion, yeah, because actually last time I'm still young in the become a teacher, yeah. This is my the first experience, yeah. The last experience is when I become a private employee in the foreign company, and that time I also got training about the leadership like this, and actually the type of leadership like leadership by situation. So what I'm asked to you, we face a problem in our school. The question is, if someone is considered a leader, but especially he doesn't have a character of a leader, what should we do? That's my first question. The other question is it true that the leadership ability is depend on the maturity and the experience of someone? So if is it true, then how do we select a good leader for our school?
Okay, I'm
Okay,
sorry, Mr.
this
Eddie,
one.
can you repeat the question? For the first question, if someone considered to be a leader, what should we to be the leader?
Okay. Let me repeat again.
Okay.
So the first question, if someone is considered as a leader, but basically he doesn't have the character of a leader, yeah.
Okay.
Then is it true that the second question, is it true that the leadership ability depends on maturity and experience?
Okay, got it.
Then yes, if is it true, then how do we choose a good leader for our school? Is that any special tools for doing an assessment before we accept someone to become our leader? That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Eddie. Okay,
All
Mr.
right, thank you,
Eddie,
thank you.
my
Everyone,
friend.
big applause once again, virtual
Okay.
applause to
Okay.
Eddie and the rest participants.
Okay.
Well done. There's a tough
Okay.
question also from you,
Okay,
Eddie.
so okay,
Okay.
Mr. Willy, the
Yes,
first
okay.
question from Mr. Eddie is
All right. Okay.
if someone
Mhm.
is considered to be a leader but doesn't have
But
the
doesn't have any
characteristic
capabilities.
as the leader, what should they do to become the
Okay.
leader, please?
Okay. I would like to answer based from my presentation so that it will narrow down our discussion. Again, it's a wonderful question. Thank you, Pak. So that we could have more discussion about this responsibility. So, change agent. That's the responsibility of number 2. And speaking about the change agent, it does emphasize on the willingness of teachers, another school leaders, to challenge the status quo, to challenge and try to consider new and better ways of doing things. Because just now the first question is how to face the leader who doesn't have any capabilities, who doesn't have any characteristic might be of the leaders itself. So again, as the member of the institutions, it's truly a challenge for us. And what we could do right now, okay, based from my explanation, based from my presentation, we back to the responsibility of number 2. Are you dare enough to challenge the status quo? Pak Eddie or Pak Reddy just now? Pak Eddie, yeah?
Eddie.
Pak Eddie, I believe. Yeah. So are you willing to challenge the status quo? Because I believe what your leader, that leader that you mentioned just now, who doesn't have any enough capability, who doesn't have any enough capacities, to set a decision, and then you see that decision is not good enough for the entire institutions or school organization. The question is, are you willing to challenge the status quo? Based on this responsibility, we have to, and we have to lead the change. We have to have the initiatives with the uncertainty outcomes, because again, we never know what will happen if we challenge the status quo. But again, speaking about this responsibility of number 2, we have to find a new and better ways of doing the things. So again, challenge the status quo in order to face that kind of leader. Like what I've presented earlier, for example, your leader, your school principal has stated about the homework policy. And according to him, this homework policy is the best policy ever. But then again, as a teacher, we knew it doesn't work. The thing is, are we willing enough to challenge the status quo of this policy? So there's none other questions, again, because again, I based my answer based from my presentation. Challenge the status quo, and then there's another responsibility again about the communication. It means you have to be able to communicate with the other division, Pak Eddie. Let's say, for instance, like human capital or another stakeholders of the school. But then again, of course, we would like to communicate with the open and effective lines of communications with all of the staffs. I think that's my best answer, Miss Ayu. For
Okay.
number 1 questions, Pak Eddie.
Hopefully it's clear
challenge the
enough
status
for
quo.
Mr. Eddie.
Mhm.
Okay, and for the next question, is it true that the leadership depends on the maturity and experience, and how to choose the correct leader?
Okay. Wait, yeah, let me, because again, I don't want to go too broad for the answer. Let me try to find it at here. Speaking about the maturity. So we are speaking about the, where is it here? Hold on. Speaking about the maturity, the involvement also. Okay. Let me base again my answer, Pak Eddie, from my presentation, so that we could narrow it down, so that it's not going to be, broadened. Speaking about the maturity, I believe I have to agree with you, Pak Eddie, because again, the effective leaders is those leaders who would like to always get involved, who always would like to, empower the teams in order to make the decision making. So speaking about this responsibility, so it comes to the responsibility of number 10, which is the input. And speaking about the maturity, yes, it does. I believe I have to agree with you, because again, the leaders who mature enough is the leaders who make sure that the voice from the teachers are heard. And it is his job to make sure that
Yes.
voice could be implemented and could empower Pak Eddie. So for instance, of this number 10, there's one institutions that I know, they have this honest reaction box. So they could put any kind of input from teachers,
Yeah.
from the stakeholders, to that reaction box, according to their honest feelings, honest reactions, and honest insights. So from this point onwards, we could see how far actually is the maturity of the level from the leaders, Pak Edi.
Okay.
I hope it's answering your question, Pak Edi. So again,
Okay.
the
Is
best
enough clear
leader,
enough?
mature
Okay.
leader is always involved and empower
Yeah.
the teachers. And how to choose the leaders? I believe that's your third question, just now.
Yes.
And
Uh,
I
One
don't
again,
think
Mr.
one more.
Willie.
One
Okay,
again.
One more.
please.
Sorry. I believe there's a slightly different between the working environment in the school and between the school and the business side. Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah. When I still work in the last job, there is a speak up process.
Okay.
You know, yeah, the speak up process. This process is to report any problem, any issue that's happened in the process. Yeah, it could be related with the person or it could be related with the process. Yeah. So can we implement it this culture, like for example, like teacher knows that their leader is not good enough, and then there's maybe there's a function that could receive any message from the teacher, like they can speak up and giving a message to making a change, like maybe they can propose to change the leader or anything else.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, is it can implement also, yeah, Mr. Willie, yeah, like the speak up
The speak
process,
up culture, isn't
yeah,
it?
speak up culture. I think it's
Is that-
also implementing in the educational field, I think.
Yeah, speak up culture. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. I think is it enough, Mr. Eddie, for the questions?
Yes, enough. Can I get this slide from you? Yeah, because
Yes.
Sure,
it is-
definitely.
Sure,
it
of
is-
course.
it is- yeah. Because
Interesting,
my
yeah,
friend
Mr. Yeah.
asked me that. Yeah, interesting, and my friends asked me to explain it after I
Oh.
joined this seminar.
I see.
Wow,
Okay.
awesome. Thank you so much. Please
I
join
hope that-
until the
Yeah, I
end
hope
of the
that
Okay.
this presentation will benefits to all of you, not only to Pak Edi, and because again,
Yes.
that's the
Stanley.
expectation.
I
Okay.
hope so.
Okay.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you very much,
Mr.
Pak
Eddie,
Edi.
for
Yeah.
participating. Okay. Next, we already have Mr. Agung who already raised hand. Sorry for waiting.
Miss Ayu, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yes.
My apologies because I believe that Pak Edi just now was asking another last of his questions about can we implement this culture of criticism to the leaders who are not
Criticism.
good enough to lead. I believe that's Pak Edi's last question just now.
Mm,
Mhm. So my short answer, my practical answer, yes, Pak Edi. It is strongly recommend that this kind of criticism culture to be applied, especially at one organizations, with the leaders who are not good enough to lead. Because I've put everything in here. Section number D, Pak Edi. How do we plan to have the effective school leadership? And I believe it's not only applied for the school leadership, but then for the non-school leadership as well. The first of 5 steps, the first and foremost, it's always to have a strong school leadership team. So again, leadership is not only about one men show, but then leadership, leaders is about the teamwork. And then speaking about the teamwork, I think I have said also at here one journal, which is I got it from the year 2020, about the relationship about the transformational leadership towards the teacher performance. And that it does correlate the analysis. Well, it comes from the publisher of the Advances in Social Science. I mean, the title itself is the relationship between transformational leadership and teacher performance. And let's see, the research question is the transformational leadership positively affects the teacher performance. And then the hypothesis is it does effects. And then this is the model, everyone. It comes from the research journal research. The X will affect the Y, and then it comes from the quantitative approach, sampling by Swavin. The data taken by cross-sectional, and then it's analyzed by the regression analysis. So these are all the statistics. I'm not sure whether you are familiar with this statistic or not, but then what's the next thing that I would like to emphasize is it is positively related between transformational leadership and the teacher performance, because it brings 0.000, the significancy. So the solution, the finding is, again, the leadership style, it does brings the effects to the performances of the teachers. So back to your questions again, Pak Edi. So can we implement this criticism? My answer is yes, because again, the research has shown to us that the leadership style will affect the performance. And then back to our 21 responsibility about the change agent, are you willing enough to challenge the status quo? So this is the best part that you can contribute to your organization, to challenge the status quo, to bring good input, communicate, because again, it is one of the responsibility to communicate well with a good line of communication to the all stakeholders. I hope that I answered best your question, Pak Edi. Back to you, Ms. Ayu.
Okay, thank you so much for the explanation, Mr. Willy. And let's continue to the next question.
Hi, Pak Agung. Hello, Pak.
From Mr. Agung. Please,
Hello.
Mr. Agung.
Hello, sir. Hello,
Hi, Pak Agung.
Hello, Mr.
Good to see you, Pak.
Good to see you too, sir. So first of all, I would like to express my interest about this kind of what we call the transformational leadership, right? So I'm really interested in this kind of thing. So I'm not going to talk more about the teachings and everything, because I believe that everyone who has been in this kind of leadership positions, they must have been very expert in this kind of thing, right? Now, I assume that you are also involved in this kind of leadership thing in your schools. So I'd like to ask this kind of what we call real life situation, sir. So first of all, there are two questions. So the first one, I'd like to inquire about how important is delegations in managing a small to middle-sized organizations. I mean, despite the fact that small organizations, in this case, a small school, is relatively not too difficult to manage, yet the chance of overlapping responsibilities do still exist. Now, let's say a claim to be international school implementing international curricula only has a principal, one principal, but no vice principal at all. Now, I'm going to ask you this one, right? To what extent, in your opinion, sir, that delegating school leadership to vice principals could assist the accelerations of the enforcement of the transformational leadership in the school, particularly to a school which has been recently changing the leadership figure? Because I personally believe that there are two important things in a school. It's actually the figure or the culture. Now, let's put aside the culture. Let's talk about the figure first. Because in my opinion, overlapping responsibilities sometimes, most of the time, it tends to demoralize teachers in long-term run of the organizations. And then the second one, sir, regarding these leadership abilities, I'd like to highlight the Point 2, change agent. Point 7, flexibility. And also point 15, optimizer. So speaking about this kind of thing, I'd like to highlight a situations where in real life situations, a school leader appointed by the, let's say, the management of the foundations, okay, happen to be someone who's not really close to mastering the technology. How, in your opinion, sir, how do you politely or diplomatically recommend and or initiate the act of the mastery of this technology to the school leader whom considered being an old school style leader? I mean, without surfacing any suspicions of, doing the micromanaging certain divisions and or departments, sir. Thank you very much, sir. I will also forward the written one to your chat box. Thank you very much, Mr. Willie.
Thank you very much, Pak Agung. Okay, Pak Agung, do you mind to come again with your first question? I got clearly with your second question. Your first question was?
To what extent that delegating school leadership to vice principals could actually assist the accelerations of the enforcement of the transformational leadership, sir. Particularly to a school who has recently been changing the figure of the school leaders.
I see. Okay. Wonderful question from Pak Agung, and I would like to ask a big applause virtually to Pak Agung, Pak Edi, and the rest of the participants, everyone. Thank you. Okay. So the first, to what extent delegating the vice curriculum to, implement the rest of the school programs. Am I correct, that Pak Agung?
Well, particularly, this is a real life situation, sir, where a school is only having one principal. Only have one principal without having any vice principal. Yeah, but then in the end, what happened was there are this kind of situations of what we call overlapping responsibilities, which have been recently demoralizing some of the teachers who were assigned to have that that kind of burden.
Okay. So speaking about transformational leadership, because just now you're emphasizing on this leadership style, Pak Agung. Oops, sorry. Okay, so leadership, this transformational leadership actually is the style of leadership that emphasize on the empowerment, Pak Agung. Emphasizing on the interaction between the leader and the subordinates. In this case, the team members then could be the teachers, could be the vice, and the rest of the team members. So to what extent, I think it's relates very much with transformational leadership because it's emphasizing on the empowerment, Pak Agung. And speaking about, again, the transformational leadership, it doesn't matter who will be leading the programs because the vision is identified and shared with the rest of the members of the teamwork. So it doesn't matter, could be overlapping. It doesn't matter, could be, just like what you mentioned, demotivation, because there are more and more burdens. That's what I got from you just now. But again, the main purpose, again, I try to answer your question based from my presentation. So I focus on the transformational leadership. My best answer to your question is, in that case, transformational leadership would be the best solution, Pak Agung. Will be the best solution because again, it's speaking about the empowerment, the interaction. So supposedly, if we implement best this transformational leadership, the motivation, the individualized, the intellectual stimulation would be there, supposedly. But having said that, it means the leaders, they have to have like a very clear vision, show a good example of the role model, have a good trust and relationships, empower the teachers. In that case, just now you were mentioning the vice principal, inspire them, motivate them, encourage them. Speaking about the innovation, establish the mentorship. Also, as long as they have the shared school vision, the outcomes will be there. So the teachers could be influenced to enhance, again, just like we could see on the slides, the quality of the performances, Pak Agung. And it has to be bottom up. So that is why just now I relied my answer based on the transformational leadership, because again, it has to be bottom up approach. So more into the distributed leadership. So creating a common goals, be independent. Supposedly, in that case, the answer is to implement the transformational leadership. So to what extent, I think it does affects positively, Pak Agung. I'm not sure whether I answer your first question or not, Pak Agung. I hope I did. But speaking about again, your second questions and how do you cut again those leaders, yeah, who are appointed by the school management. My answer is quite the same with my answer for Pa Eddie's question just now. So are you willing enough to challenge the status quo, Pa Agung? To be comfortable to sit at that position, to challenge the changes that the leader brought up. I hope that I could answer your question, Pak Agung.
Okay, is it clear enough, Mr. Agung? Okay, okay, thank you. Okay,
Thank you, Pak
Mr.
Agung.
Willy,
sir.
we have the question from YouTube.
I see. Okay.
From YouTube,
Please.
from Mr. T. Suharto. When the teaching and learning process happens in the class, who is the learning leader actually? A teacher or students? Student-centered or teacher-centered? Thank you very much.
Okay, there's a nice and
Question.
interesting question as well.
Yes.
Okay, who will be the leader?
Yes.
I believe that we all have agreed that the leader comes from, again, it's different according to the approach that we are using. If we use the instructional leadership style from teachers to the students, obviously the leader will be the teacher. Again, depending from the style of leadership that you use with your students in the class. Okay, because it's top down, just like what I've presented on the slide. But then if you're using the transformational leadership style, it comes from the bottom up. So it means it comes from the students. You distribute the responsibility, the leadership to all of your member of your class. So again, it depends from the leadership style that you are applying at your class, Miss Ayu. What's the name again, Miss Ayu?
Mr. Suharto.
Mr. Suharto. Okay, thank you, Pak Suharto. It's a very wonderful questions in the evening. And
It
just like
depends
what
to the approach, yeah, Mr.
it depends to the approach, indeed. So like what I've presented earlier, there's non-single leadership styles that could best applies to all of the class situations and learning environment. So it will comes from your students' personality, your students' psychology, your students' background of family, your students' interests, so your topics of learning. So again, it depends from your leadership style, how you would like to lead your class. I hope that I answered the questions, Miss Ayu.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. for the explanation. And next is this the edition statement from Mr. Anton referring to Pak Edi's questions. He mentioned that the definition of a leader, the person who leads a group, organization, or country, good or bad, the person is still a leader. Look at our fathers at home. And the second, in Eastern world, seniority means older and wiser. Not in Western world. Look again at number 1 above. So that's the additions
Great, great.
from
Thank you.
Mr. Anton. Thank you, Pak. Thank you, Mr. Anton. And next we have Miss Sri Wahyuni who already raised hand. Please, Miss Sri Wahyuni, time is yours. Yes.
Thank you, Miss Ayu, and hello, Pak Willy.
Hi, hello, Ibu Sri.
This is as well very interesting for me, although I'm not right now I'm not a school principal, but I am in particular a curriculum coordinator. It means that I can consider myself as a middle management, I suppose. Yeah, middle management. And as it is said to be a middle management, sometimes I am also standing in the middle of things, yeah, which is actually not easy for me to be one. Yeah. In some occasions, especially when the leader seems to make policies which are not really consistent with the previous policies, then the middle management becomes very burdensome for me. There were some questions before about the consistency, about the balance, about the policy of the leaders, about the credibility of our leaders. I know that being an agent of change is not easy for everyone, I suppose. Yeah. One of the problems is when the leaders tend to make the policy which are not written. I keep saying, I keep challenge actually this kind of authority. I keep challenging this kind of authority by saying that anything not written is only conventional. Anything not written cannot be said to be a policy or a law. And at first it was not. Probably I cannot say at first because until now this is still burdensome to me. Some leaders tend to not write down anything so that it seems that they would like to have a space to keep changing the policy. And I don't think this is a very good idea for any kinds of leadership. I don't think so. So what I have been doing until now is that although my habit of writing everything and showing it as an evidence, for example, in meetings, I will write everything up to details, so that later, whenever there is inconsistency in terms of my leaders, I can say that this has been written down on this particular day, this particular date, and then please obey it because we have agreed upon it. Why do you have to keep changing the rules? This is not good actually for the parents. This is not good for the teachers, not good for the students. We cannot say that we cannot undermine them because they are stakeholders. Teachers are also stakeholders. That's what I believe. So I don't know whether it is a good idea, and because sometimes I have conflicts with my leaders in this area. Whenever I have written points and then she doesn't or he doesn't have it, and then I keep showing it to her or him. I have written it down in my meeting minutes, so please stick to it. If we have to, if you have to change the policy, and then please have a consensus among us. Okay, so how is it, Pak Willy? Have I been doing well as a good what is it, a change agent, or have I been too extreme to my to my leaders? Okay, how is
All
it?
right. Thank you for sharing it with us, Ibu Sri. Thank you very much. I really appreciate Ibu Sri. I could feel you, Ibu. How is your burden right now? And yeah, I hope that I could share my best answer, experience, and hopefully could strengthen your point of view, Ibu Sri. Okay, speaking about your condition, Ibu Sri, I think your condition is more into the second order change. Again, first order of change is about the changes that happens on a gradual and subtle, means on daily operational. But then your issues is more into the second order change. It means you need a drastic changes, because again, that inconsistency brings, all I could say is chaos right now. I don't know, is that the right word to mention it as the chaos?
Yes,
In the
to the extreme extent, I suppose you can call it that way.
Indeed. So I could feel you, and I believe your situation right now is more into the second order of change, wherein you need a drastic and dramatic changes, Ibu Sri. In order to do that, I've put also on my slide, you need what that I have highlighted at here. There are 7 points of the responsibility, because again, our main focus in this evening session is the 21 responsibilities, Ibu Sri. So that we could narrow our discussion again about the 21 responsibilities, about the leadership styles. So at least there are 7 responsibilities that you have to aware in order to bring the second order of change. So you have to be precisely understood about the instruction itself. But the word is knowledgeable. I have underlined, and how that decision will affect to the rest of the school operations. So you have to be knowledgeable, and of course there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green highlighted on innovation. So innovation is the key. Of course, when you present to your leader, you have to be knowledgeable about the innovation that you are presenting, that you will be presenting, and how you would like to become the optimizer of that innovation. So it means you are becoming the driving force to influence the rest of the teachers that this innovation will make a good, conducive, a better working situations, Ibu Sri. Then you will stimulate the intellectual of the rest of team members, then they become the change agent, and then you evaluate. And then of course, in order to have this innovation, the rest of the team members, and especially your leaders, have to be flexible. Ibu Sri, I hope that this will enlighten a little bit about your issues. So I do agree with you, Ibu Sri, that you have the big responsibility right now to bring the innovation. So through those 7 responsibilities, I hope that you could bring a second order change to your education institutions, Ibu Sri. I hope that my answer could at least give you a glimpse of what you should do in order to bring the change, Ibu Sri.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Willy. If I may,
Thank you very much for sharing it with us.
Miss Ayu, if I may, I can also, can I also
Yes, please. Yes,
refer
please.
to Pak Edi's
Yes.
statement?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Pak Edi, for giving me another opinion, and also Pak Willy. As I have told you before, of course, I can understand as an agent of change, I have to also be ready to change myself. If it is innovative, if it is better than previously, then of course I will also drive my teachers, also drive the students and also parents to go to changes, like for example, P5, P5. I am all for it. I know this is not easy for any of us, especially educators, to implement it. But as I have learned about it, bit by bit, I know that we can all do it. And this is a very good idea to implement. But what I mean by written materials is that, of course, we can change, but first we have to have a consensus first. If we want to change, that we have to change, the staffs will have to change first, and then we will go to the teachers, the bigger group, and then we can go to the students and parents afterwards. So what I professionally disagree is that when we haven't had consensus to change, the policy has already changed. So parents would usually not go to the principal directly. They would go to their homeroom teachers. They would go to the middle management. They would not go straight to the leaders. So when that happens, that becomes a confusion to me how to answer it. Because when parents says, well, Ms. Ruwahyuni, previously your leader said this, I cannot argue them because they're right. Okay, so I would usually go by saying, okay, I will talk about it with my leader first, and then I can come to you. That's what I can. When it happens only once in a while, it is still understandable because leaders are also human beings. But when it happens too often, then yes, I believe the word chaos is very implementable in the situation. But thank you again for all the opinions. Who are you, Pak Edi, Pak Willy? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Sri Wahyuni, and also just now to the Mr. Edi idea about Ms. Sri Wahyuni question before that. According to Mr. Edi, that actually not all process or activities can be written as a policy in order someone can remember it because it will impact to the flexibility of the process or interaction among the staff, and also it will be used by the auditor to make a finding if there was an audit process in the school. So there's the additional idea from Mr. Edi. Okay, thank you, Mr. Edi.
Okay, Ms. Ayu.
Yes, please.
Yeah, allow me to again emphasize about this responsibility.
Please. Yes, please.
So I think this will be the closing session of mine. I'm not sure whether we still have time or not, but yeah, I'm afraid we don't have much more time. So
Yeah.
allow me to again sum up everything.
Yes, please.
So the left side, everyone, the 21 responsibility, it is more into the student's achievement. So it is very useful for the teachers, everyone, to pay attention on one by one responsibilities in order to bring the increment of your students' performance. Remember, just like what I've mentioned earlier, there's a research that has shown that the leadership style, the responsibility from the leaders will bring at least 25% of the increment of the students' performance. And then the middle one, everyone, this is for the day-to-day school management. So you need those responsibilities. What I've highlighted on the red one, it means it is not really emphasized on that responsibility. So you need to have the monitoring, you need to have the same ideas, beliefs, you need to be knowledgeable, and so on and so on. And the last one, just like what Ibu Sri has shared with us, in order to bring the second order of change, you need at least 7 responsibilities, from being knowledgeable about the innovation itself up until the shared ideas or the shared beliefs with all of the team members. So I hope this slide could summarize everything about the responsibilities that the school leaders should know. So just like what Pak Edi just now mentioned, Pak Agung mentioned, and the rest of the participants with the wonderful questions just now, if you would like to challenge the status quo, please bring these slides to your leaders and show it to them. that there's responsibilities that they have to endure, everyone. Responsibility about the students' achievement, responsibilities about day-to-day school management, first order of change, and the responsibility for the second order of change, everyone. So I hope this slide could sum up everything, and I hope this presentations could brings could be beneficial for your daily day-to-day performance. I think that's all from my side. Back to you,
Okay.
Ms. Ayu. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the insightful discussion, Mr. Willie. It's clear that effective leadership can truly transform the school, right, Mr. Willie?
Indeed.
Okay, and also I would like to say welcome to Dr. Mansur Ali Darazi, Head of L&D Department ELTA Pakistan. Thank you
Wow.
for joining the webinar, Dr. Mansur. Okay, so maybe because the time, because of the time, so we will close the discussion. But before that, let me to highlight some of the information from your presentation, Mr. Willie.
Please, please.
That the first leadership is not always for the principal, right, Mr. But also for the teachers, the one who lead the class, because the teacher is the key person of the students' successful. And then the second leadership style will affect the students' achievements and school sustain. And also there are 21 responsibilities for the leadership, and Miss and Mr. Can read deeply from the presentation that already shared by Miss Amel. Okay, I think it's enough for the session, and I would like to close the session by a quote that mentioned that leadership is not about being the best, but it is about making everyone else better. Okay, thank you, Miss and Mr. for joining the discussion. I will hand over back to Mr. Ridwan. Please, Mr.
Oke, terima kasih.
Sama-sama.
Miss Rahayu. Luar biasa sekali ya, benar-benar interaktif dan menarik. Tidak lupa juga saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada Mr. Willy Chandra yang sudah memaparkan materi mengenai School Leadership Networks yang sangat menarik bagi kita semua. Semoga webinar ini menarik dan semoga webinar ini bermanfaat ya untuk bisa diimplementasikan bagi kita semua dan bisa menjadi momen perubahan buat kita yang sebagai pengajar di sekolah gitu. Oke. Dan jangan lupa pula untuk yang presensinya Bapak Ibu diisi data dengan benar, yang sesuai, karena akan dijadikan database untuk penerbitan sertifikat yang akan dibagikan maksimal di H+5 pada jam kerja melalui nomor kontak yang sudah share di isian presensi tersebut. Jadi jangan sampai salah dalam menginput data pada presensi tersebut. Oke, di kolom chat tadi juga ada undangan untuk bergabung ke WA grup TOT Jabar, kemudian grup TOT Jabar in English, dan ada juga link pendaftaran di PTIC dan link pendaftaran untuk menjadi anggota IGI. Silakan bergabung untuk semakin mengembangkan diri di organisasi profesional yang untuk berbagi dan berkolaborasi. Oke, kami segenap kru TOT Jabar memohon maaf jika ada kekurangan atau hal-hal yang kurang berkenan, dan saya juga ucapkan terima kasih kepada Bu Ari, Pak Joko, Mas Solahuddin, dan Ibu Amel. Oke, jumpa lagi pada pertemuan pekan depan dengan materi yang semoga semakin menarik bagi kita semua. Oke, kita tutup bersama kegiatan ini dengan mengucapkan hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirrabbilalamin. Baik, cukup sekian dari saya. Terima kasih. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Willy.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
You,
you,
Mr.
Have a good
Willy.
night.
everyone. Thank you,
Good.
teachers. Thank you, Miss Mia, Miss Tari.
Thank you,
Mr.
Mr. Willy.
Terima kasih Bu Rahayu.
Good night, all.
Terima kasih Bu
Good.
Amel.
Thank you, Miss Ari.
Jaga kesehatan.
Ya.
Baik, Bu Ari.